Hi, in this lecture you will learn how to use the raise application error procedure. In previous lectures, we learned how to raise an exception in our block and learned how to handle it, and said that sometimes we need user-defined exceptions to handle some business exceptions, but they are not defined in the database and they are not an error for the database server, so they don't have any error codes. But in user-defined exceptions, we defined, trapped, and handled the error in our blocks. We know that they are not known out of the blocks, but most of the times your code will work with different subprograms or applications. So you will need to inform these about your business errors. For example, if you are using Oracle Forms or Java and you call a procedure or function including a block of code, you need to be informed about the business exceptions. We know that we cannot raise a user-defined exception out of our block. We get an error if we do that. But sometimes we want to raise an exception to the caller application to stop the execution. To do that, we use the raise application error procedure. Raise application error procedure raises the error to the caller subprogram or application. With this procedure, we will inform the caller about our business exceptions. Let's check how to use it and continue talking on that. We simply write raise application error and inside of parentheses 2 or 3 parameters. The third one is optional. The first parameter is the error code and the second one is the error message. With using raise application error, we raise an application to the caller with an exception code and a specific message. The third parameter is the Boolean parameter. This is for the error stack. So what is the error stack? Up to now, we used only one anonymous block, so only one exception is raised from our blocks most of the times. But when you learn how to use these subprograms, multiple subprograms will call each other. So one exception will cause multiple exceptions to raise. From bottom to up, all these error messages and codes are stored in the error stack and printed all when the whole execution finishes. Actually, sometimes you will see many error codes and messages in the script output. These are stored in the error stack and printed all in one step as soon as the program execution is terminated. This third parameter is used for this aim. If you select true for this parameter, your error that you assign in raise application error procedure is added to the error stack, and with this way you will see all the other errors that occur. But if you select false, by default it is false, this time all the previous errors are deleted from the stack and only this error is stored in it. So when the program finishes, you will see only that error message. We will make an example about that. Alright, when you raise the application error, it will cause your program to stop execution. So you need to handle that in your application with the when other than exception handler. Now let's explain the error number and the error message. Since this error number is specific for our business, it must be different than the reserved Oracle Server errors. To provide that, Oracle lets us to specify a number between -20,000 and up to 21,000. 21,000 is not included. So we need to write a number between this interval. This error code will be raised to the application as the error code of the exception. The message is a specific character string up to 2 kilobytes long. This will be the error message of our exception. Alright, now let's make an example and see how to use that procedure. Now, this is our previous user-defined example. We know that we need to handle that error inside of our block. We cannot raise it to the caller application. Now, instead of raising our exception, let's use the raise application error procedure. Let's comment our raise first. Now let's raise our own message with the raise application error procedure. Raise application error, and inside parentheses the first one is our error code. Let's say -20243 for example. And for the error message, let's say the salary of the selected employee is too high. Now let's run it. As can be seen in the script output, our error code and our error message are printed. If this block will be called by an application, this message would be raised to that application. Now, we used our raise application error procedure inside of the begin end block. We could use it inside of the exception section too. With this way, we handle what we want first, then raise for the rest to the caller program. So let's see that. Let me cut it and uncomment here and paste our raise application error here and run it. Now let's check the outputs. The first one is our message. The second line is a message for showing at which line did this error happen. The last text comes from our DBMS output. Now let's see what we will see when we use the third parameter. We know that when we write nothing, it means false. Let's write false first. Let's clear up and run our code. As we can see, the output is the same. So let's write true then. And run it. Now we see one more error message. Unhandled PLSQL user-defined exception. Now we know that when we raise our application error with false or null parameter, it replaces all the other error messages. So we can write true here to see all the other error messages. In here, we see that when we raise that error, since we could not handle the user-defined error, it is also raised. So they both inserted to the error stack and printed as soon as the block is terminated. This is also a useful subject sometimes, but since the other errors are occurred because of the first one, they will be handled when you handle the first one. So you will not need that at very most of the times. The last thing. If we write a reserved Oracle Server error code, we will get an error. Let me show you. 01403. We know that this error number is reserved for no data found predefined error. Now let's run it. As we can see, it says use an error number in the range of -20,000 and -21,000. Even if we write a non-predefined error code, it will have an error too. Alright, now we know how to use raise application error procedure. So this is the end of this lecture. See you in the next one.